Today is Tuesday, the 23rd of January 2018. This is one of a series of videos on the latest version of HealthOne, which will be distributed in the next week or two. The version is 8.5.2.2181. It might be 2182 or 2183, but it's the second version we're distributing of 8.5.2. What I'm showing you now is related to the cycle of care and to checking your registrations and your submissions. So in the latest version of HealthOne, if you click on Analysis, you will have a new item in the menu here called CycleOfCareDashboard. And this will immediately show you a list of all your patients. It will try and also log on via a web service, which I'll get into later, to the PCRS. And you'll end up with a list of all your patients who have ever been seen under the cycle of care. So all of the patients in this list will be medical card holders who have diabetes mellitus type 2 and who are registered in HealthOne for the cycle of care. The first patient, for example, has 3 visits: visit 1, visit 2 and visit 1 again. And all of these are displayed here in the menu. The menu will also display for us various items. This button will be to submit. This will be disabled in the first version for the users because the PCRS are not quite ready yet to have us send in some submissions. We'll be able to export the data and we will be able to view the cycle of care for diabetes or asthma or periodic assessment. So each of these will have its own little thing. You can show the visits for any period, for example, the whole time or the previous year, or not. You can show them only for one doctor. You can show them for any doctor in charge. This is by an item in the administrative file, which is doctor in charge. You can choose it by a patient's name, for example, and you can choose it as to whether it's been exported or not, and whether the patient has been registered or not. When you open this first time, you will get a message here with this green button to say that you need to fill in your details, which is your login to the PCRS and your password for the PCRS. In this case, we have one certificate from the PCRS to deal with all 3 doctors in the practice, so that we can submit for all 3 doctors in one go. If you have a different certificate for each doctor, then you'll have to log in as each doctor to submit. So once you have these put in, HealthOne will be able to connect readily to the PCRS. So in this instance, HealthOne has got these 3 numbers from the PCRS, GMS numbers, and can submit or check any patient from any of these doctors. The most important one initially for users will be the registration date. Normally, when you first open it, these will all be in black and not in green, and they will indicate the date the patient was registered for diabetes in HealthOne. This should be precisely the same as the date the patient was registered on the PCRS site for diabetes. But it may not always be the case. It may be the case that a user will put in the date of registration in HealthOne and not on the PCRS, in which case you're not getting paid for it. With this system, you can right-click on any one, you can submit it, or you can check the registration dates. You can also do this for every single person there in one go, and this we would advise you to do early on. I'm going to click that now, and we will get an online. It will automatically check the patient's date of registration online there and now, and the date is confirmed, and the date is the 14th of the 9th 2015 that this patient was registered. So the date will then become green here and will be entered into HealthOne as the date of registration. From now on, when you are registering a new patient, you will be able to register it directly online and in HealthOne at the same time. This was not technically feasible when the system started up. This is why I'm spending some time on it now. So you could, if you wanted, check all your patients. When you do check the date of registration, it will be actually checking, was the patient registered and did he have a medical card on the date of the visit, in this case the 24th of the 10th 2016. It is possible that the patient did not have a medical card on that date, even though you saw him on that date, in which case it would be rejected. But the main idea here is you can register online all your patients and check their registration online, all the patients in here. And if they're different from the date in HealthOne, HealthOne will be updated. If they're not registered online, you will have the opportunity to register them now. So that can be done in one go. I can also, for example, right click and go to the Cycle of Care registration interface, which will immediately go online and check, is this patient registered? And you've seen this screen before, which is a screen when you're registering a patient for the first time. You will get in HealthOne, you will get this. Now HealthOne will automatically go online and check if the patient is or is not already registered, and if so, you'd put him in here and you won't be able to edit it at all. I'm trying to edit the 2015 there with my backspace, I can't. If he's not registered, I can go here and register him as I would normally. I can also click on this to check again. I can check if the number is valid, etc. here. So I can do a lot from this screen. If, for example, the submission is rejected on this date for some reason, you can directly from here open the diabetes form relating to this visit date by clicking here, and you will open up the diabetes medi form to have a look at it and see where your missing data is, and you can fix that here and now and resubmit. You can also, as you can see down here, not only from the dashboard, but when you're doing a normal diabetes consultation, if you wish, you can submit each one there and then. That won't always be possible. You may not have the bloods done on that day, but it's possible to do it. So there's two ways of submitting to the PCRS. One is en masse and one is when you're finished doing the consultation. As you can see here, I have already submitted these 3 visits. I've had an acknowledgement on the same day and they've been accepted by HealthLink. So what happens when you submit a patient data is that it goes to HealthLink. The administrative file data is then sent on to the PCRS for payment, and the clinical data is held by HealthLink. You will get an immediate reply to say it was sent, and then within minutes your lab download from HealthLink will download an answer to your submission as to whether it was accepted or not. So that will be copied in here whenever you next do your lab download. That's how the system works. So we can also in HealthOne export the data, not just submit it, but export the data to Excel. This allows the user to have a good idea or a precise idea of how he has been managing his diabetes. So I will, for example, take a date of the previous year, that is in 2017, all my visits in 2017 for these doctors, and I will export them, and I can export them anonymized if I wish, to Excel. Now this process will take some minutes because there's a lot of data to export. You will be asked to save it as a file, normally in HomeWinTemp. If you want to export every patient, you should select them all by clicking on this button and click on Export All Data. Save it as that, and you will get an Excel spreadsheet, and it's exporting the data from all 85 cycle of care diabetes patients. This is going to take 5 to 10 minutes. When HealthOne has finished processing the data, you immediately get an Excel spreadsheet up with an overview of your diabetes care. So in this case, you can see that there are 50 diabetes patients, of which 52% are males and 48% are females. All of them are GMS patients. 80% were seen by the nurse and 20% were seen by the doctor. You can see the blood pressure over all the visits. There's 50 patients had 85 visits, and for those 85 visits, 33% had a blood pressure of less than 140 over 80 and 67% greater than it. So you get a great idea as regards auditing your patients. You've 25% of patients had a BMI less than 8, and 63% over 60% over 30, and another 30%, 90% of them had a BMI greater than 25, for example. The ACR, the cholesterols, and you can see how you do. Also, how many of them had a foot review. 80% of them in the period have had a foot review. How many had discussed exercise. 64%, etc. So you have an immediate, detailed view of your management of your diabetes patients, and you can audit this against the following year if you so wish. You also have a tab here for your anonymized patients. In this tab here, you'll have your real patients seen with all the actual raw data if you wish to analyze that separately. Most GPs will be interested in this one. You can also from here use this tab down here to see a list of all the patients and when their next examination is due. So I can see very easily here a list of my overdue visits, and you can see that these patients here are overdue their visit. So I can print this to Excel if I so wish, and I can print that out and call the patients in if I wish. I can also open the patient file. It's also possible that the patient, the reason they're overdue a visit is because they're deceased or they've moved, and you can directly change the patient status from here. So that is a detailed view of the diabetes cycle of care in the new version of HealthOne, version 8.5.2.2181 or maybe 2182 or 3. And it will be under Analysis, Cycle of Care Dashboard that you will see the data. Whether you have internet connection or not, you'll see all of these. But if you don't have an internet connection, you won't be able to check them online, etc. And that's the end of this video. Thank you very much.